Hi Year 3, hi Amazon, hi Ganges, welcome to your week 4 literacy video. Now, Miss Robinson and I are super proud of all the wonderful writing and learning you've been doing in English. Before we look at this week's book, I just want to do a special shout out for a few children that Miss Robinson and I have chosen based on the lovely work that we've marked over the last couple of weeks. Now, the work that we've selected has been around the book The Wild Robot. And the first two pieces are illustrations that were done by Sophia in Ganges and Marley in Amazon. Now, Sophia has done a beautiful painted illustration of the crate containing the wild robot as it lands in that hurricane on those bare rocks. And you can really feel the force of that storm with the way she's painted the waves. So well done, Sophia. That was a stunning, stunning picture. Now, Marley has used a different medium. She's used felt tip. And what we really like about Marley's is how she's shown that crate splintered and broken on that rock face, and all those squiggly lines that she's drawn to show how choppy those waves are in the hurricane. So two beautiful pictures. Well done, girls. We're very proud of you. Now, we didn't just have amazing illustrations from you for The Wild Robot, we also had some incredible writing. We've got some wonderful authors in Year 3. I'd like to do a special mention for Bryn in Ganges. Now, Bryn, whilst he was in school, he made a newspaper report, and it's called The Storm Sinks Ship. So he used the alliteration of the S there for his headline, and he's written, last Thursday, a massive hurricane hit near the island of Cayman in the Atlantic Ocean. The hurricane started on Thursday and ended on Sunday. After that, the cargo ship was never seen again, and the captain was never seen again either, and 100 crates were missing. But most mysterious of all is that no one knows what's in the crates. So well done, Bryn. You've really captured the audience reading your newspaper article. Now, in Amazon, we had some lovely writing from Carl, and he's written a few paragraphs here. So well done, Carl. Carl chose to write a story from the book. I'm just going to read the opening part. Carl's written, when the crate burst open, something powered it on. It climbed up some rocks and stopped. Its sensors detected island. Then it continued on. On its way across the island, it came across a squirrel, and then politely said to the squirrel, please could you tell me if there is any way around this island? The squirrel ran away, and it followed the squirrel until they came across a cave. Inside it was a shipwreck. As it gazed at the wreckage behind piles of brown things, there was a hole in the wall. A small mouse came running frantically. It was hard for the new visitor, who didn't understand anything. It wasn't interested and came walking out of the cave and went to explore the forest. Thank you so much for such wonderful writing, Year 3. Honestly, we're so proud of how hard you're working with your families at home, using your imagination and the book stimulus to create illustrations and share your ideas of continuing stories or writing your own versions of the books that have been chosen for you to read about. Now, this week's story is by the author and poet laureate Ted Hughes, and it's called The Iron Man. So please download the extract on the PDF document from Purple Mash, and it's on the school website, and follow with me. Now, unlike in previous weeks, the extract that we're going to read to you today is very short. And whilst I'm reading it, I'm going to hold you up an image from the book. And I want you to have a look at that image whilst I'm reading the extract. The coming of the Iron Man. The Iron Man came to the top of the cliff. How far had he walked? Nobody knows. Where had he come from? Nobody knows. How was he made? Nobody knows. Taller than a house, the Iron Man stood at the top of the cliff, on the very brink, in the darkness. The wind sang through his iron fingers. His great iron head, shaped like a dustbin, but as big as a bedroom, slowly turned to the right, slowly turned to the left. His iron ears turned this way, that way. He was hearing the sea. So that's the extract right at the beginning of the story that is going to be the introduction to the work that you're going to do on the Iron Man. Now, like in previous weeks, there are going to be 5 ways for you to explore the book. And on Monday, what we want you to do is have a think about that image that I just showed you when I was reading that extract. How does the illustration give you a sense of the Iron Man's size? Where do you think the Iron Man was looking when he was on the top of that cliff? And what does the repeating of the phrase "nobody knows" make you think about the Iron Man? And during that Explore It session on Monday, have a think about whether you would like to meet him. And if so, why or why not? Now, when you get to Tuesday and you take on the illustration challenge, think again about the Iron Man, and we want you to draw him for yourself. His head was described as being like a metal dustbin. And I want you to think about what objects would you use to depict his ears and his fingers. And you might decide to either draw the Iron Man in detail, or you might decide to craft him using lots of household objects and junk. Now, when I read that, I got really excited. So I had a raid of our place and was trying to find lots of different metal things. So I found some serving spoons, a whisk. So I might be thinking about how I could craft my Iron Man using those. Found a saucepan and one of our cat bowls. I got some cutlery out, got a spoon, a fork and a knife and a strainer. So I might have a think whilst I'm crafting how I could use all those pieces from the kitchen to make my Iron Man. I also went into the shed and found a spanner, and I'm sure your parents won't mind if you want to do a really big scale craft of the Iron Man. I found our garden fork, so maybe if you're feeling really adventurous and you want to make a really big Iron Man, you could ask your parents if you can have a look in the shed with them. You might find some nails and things that you could use as well. Maybe they would be good for his fingers maybe. And I found the metal lid for our dustbin or incinerator. So you might find lots of different things that are metal in your house that you can use to make your very own 3D Iron Man. And even if you haven't got access to lots of things like that, you know, I was looking in my food cupboard and you could use some tin foil and make a small version of the Iron Man. So we can't wait to see your photographs and pictures of those. Now, when you move to Wednesday, that's always your talking lesson. And what we want you to do is find and copy any words from the extract that I read earlier to describe the size of the Iron Man. And in the text that I read, they use a lot of similes. So you might decide to make your own similes. You might decide to say he was as tall as a tower. Think about his glowing eyes. You might decide to say that his eyes glowed like moonbeams. So try and, with your family, think of as many different similes or ways to describe the size of the Iron Man. And talk about some of the other questions that are in that Talk About It session on Wednesday. Now, when you get to your Imagine It lesson, think about the setting in which the story starts. Can you imagine what the Iron Man is seeing and hearing all around him as he stands on the cliff edge in the darkness? What if you were to witness this event? What if you were standing near him or a little bit further away, looking at him on the edge of that cliff? What would you see? Where would you be? And finally, on Friday, when you come to your Create It writing lesson, we want you to imagine that you witnessed the arrival of the Iron Man at that cliff edge. And you have two choices of how you can capture this writing. You might decide to write a news article and think about how you would describe what you saw that night. So you might want to watch BBC News, go online, maybe watch some other news channels to get a feel of how you would write that. Maybe you'd like in your news article to quote a piece of news. So again, find a newspaper, look online at news articles, see how they're set out. Is there a big picture at the front and a headline, and then small subheadings talking about this event? Like I said before, watch the news as well, because you might decide to get a member of your family to video you reading the event that happened that night on the cliff with the Iron Man arriving. So you might decide to be the newsreader and one of your family members might video you. You might decide to interview another member of your family, maybe your sister or your brother or your mum, and ask them questions if they witnessed seeing the arrival of this metal figure in the deep, dark night. Year 3, we can't wait to see all your creativity around this beautiful modern fairy tale. Do find out about Ted Hughes as well and some of his other work whilst you're exploring the Iron Man, and we look forward to sharing all your wonderful work next week. Till then, enjoy and all the best.